Welcome everyone to San Antonio by Night, Season 2, Vignette number 3. We are meeting up with Urien and Velda as they were traveling through the city and were looking to go and meet this Dr. Anderson that Amber brought up. She gave them instructions on how to find him, where he's located in the medical center, medical center clinic, and so far they have gone through traffic and everything, and we're meeting up with them as they're showing up to the hospital. So that is where we are picking up as Velda and Urien are recalling this while at home. The two of you are sitting in your car in the car park, getting ready to go inside. It's still fairly early in the evening, and Amber and John have gone off to Buer's domain and have been there for a little while now, attempting to poke the sleeping bear, as it were. And so you have yet to really understand what's going to come of that so far. But here you are, in front of the hospital. What do you do?
Following your lead, Mr. Doyle.
I am currently dressed in what appears to be a business casual attire. I seem a little bit more at ease, right? Though, I have to admit, I'm starting to get a little nervous. I nod to Velda, expressing a thanks as I start to end up stepping out. I'll start to walk towards the medicines.
You're cutting out a little bit there, Derek.
I start to end up walking towards the UT Medicine Center, trying to remain focused on the task at hand.
Velda follows closely behind. Also dressed a little bit more businessy than what she would normally go for. Still lovely as ever, but...
What kind of business casual wear are we talking about, Velda?
Probably a skirt and a button down with a over jacket.
Okay. So the two of you, dressing a little bit more modestly smart in this particular place, you walk through the main entrance to the building. You see that the clinic that you've been directed to is a little off to the right from the entrance. It's kind of a standard hospital clinic, really. Nothing like an emergency services, just a standard doctor's office, but housed inside of the hospital instead of having its own standalone business. And you walk towards the counter, and a blonde girl greets you. Welcome. How can I help you?
We are looking for an individual, what did he go by? Dr. Andrews, I believe. Anderson, something along those lines.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Do you have an appointment?
No.
Or is this a walk-in?
This is... well, this is a personal matter. I have to end up expressing that I'd like to end up seeing very shortly. I'm sure he will like what I have to say.
Okay, yeah, I can put you down in the books. It's maybe a 10-minute wait.
That'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, because I think he's clear right now, just needs some time to prepare.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Miss. What was your name?
I'm Julia.
Julia. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Miss...
Velda.
And what last name can I
Josh.
put this under?
Leave the last name blank.
Uh, I have to put a name down.
No, you
Smith.
do not understand this. The last name is irrelevant as she does not have one by legal terms. It's kind of like on how, what was that artist who goes by a single name? God. One of those moments. She's a performer, you know.
I see. Okay. Well, hopefully your records will match up. And so I'll go ahead and just put this down as Miss Velda.
Thank you.
If you'll have a seat, Dr. Anderson will be with you shortly.
Very well. I observe this, Julia. I'm concerned on being sure this is not my domain and not my people. So I'm very cautious here.
And you see that she continues to type something into the computer and finishes up a little bit of a task, and then when another person comes in, greets them and puts them in the books as well. But she's simply taking in people at the desk.
Very well. Place my hands as though I'm in prayer. My index fingers and middle fingers pressed against the bridge of my nose, my thumbs along my chin. Mostly this is to hide my mouth movements as I speak to Velda softly. So, you have suspicions. So what do you observe?
Never been asked for my full name. For just a walk-in meeting.
It's pragmatic.
Wants to make sure he knows everything about everybody that comes in here. I would
More,
assume.
more curious, I would say, why was I not asked mine?
That is a good question.
Well, nevertheless, hospital security, cameras. I'm curious on how much influence he has in here. After all, he's in competition with Clovis. I continue to wait for the doctor to arrive.
few minutes later, probably quicker than you expected, less than 10 minutes, you see a gentleman walk out of back entrance, uh, the back entrance to the rooms, and call for Miss Velda and Josh.
Velda would stand and beginning making her way.
I continue to end up walking my way in.
How are you both today?
Fantastic. Dr.
Anderson. I believe you asked Julia for me specifically.
Yes, I did.
Come with me. And he walks into the doors, kind of holding them open for you both, and leads you down to the very back of the clinic, towards a medical room.
I look about. Does there appear to be any sharp implements, a second individual in the room, that sort of thing?
You don't see a second individual in the room, and the only thing that you see is the jar of swabs and like compresses and things like that on the side, a box of gloves hanging from the wall, a computer that looks like the monitor can be pressed up against the wall if there's additional room needed. There's the examination table and a few chairs.
I'm also using Sense the Unseen at this moment.
I was about to say that as well.
Both of you can either roll it or you can assist the other.
I'll assist Urien.
Okay. Average success.
You don't see anyone.
I'm so pleased to make your acquaintance formally, Dr. Anderson.
And your name is Josh.
No. That is the name afforded to those who are, well, still breathing, unlike yourself. The name you might know me by is Urien Doyle. Though I suspect you already know that.
Yes, I've seen you before.
I know.
And
So,
you are Miss...
Velda.
Simply Velda.
if you tried to pronounce the last portion of it, your tongue would be tied.
I am sorry that you feel so... feel that I would butcher it.
It is not a common name in the tongue.
I'm not from this country, not originally.
Oh, really? Where are you from?
No.
He kind of raises a hand. That is a moment to another discussion, one I would love to have later. There was mention, however, of a more pressing concern, a interest involving a conflict between yourself and two other doctors who work, well, they claim in this portion of the domain.
Yes, well... seeing as I know who you are, I'm assuming you know who I am. Mr. Doyle.
Very much so. Fine, upstanding doctor and a newcomer to the city who is just trying to get by. Is that not correct?
Mostly correct, yes.
My constituent here has questions for you, if you'd be kind enough to answer. Please
Of
do
course.
so honestly and freely. It would be appreciated.
Of course.
What brings you to San Antonio, Mr. Anderson? Dr. Anderson.
What brings me to San Antonio is a chance at new opportunity.
I see. What kind of opportunity?
To make a name for myself, and maybe a few others that I know.
A few others.
I'm sure you already knew that.
Well, I can't, for the life of me, know who you mean.
Yes, they have been a little shy, but that is really the end all and be all of why I am here. To
I see.
create opportunity.
Do you feel satisfied, Velda?
I believe so.
I find that incredibly hard to believe.
What do you believe might be thrown into question? Though I suppose you would have preferred to remove the pretense. So let us get down to brass tacks.
If that is
Velda
what you
here,
wish.
preferably. Velda here comes with a stern accusation to my ear. One that would bereave me so. That you are Camarilla.
And what would make you think such a thing?
That's what I tried to express, but you know the young ones. Always full of questions.
Always full of questions, always accusatory, always so rash.
I would like to incite him.
What are you trying to read?
Whether he's lying.
Okay, then roll me a wits insight. Ooh, that is a crit on him.
Yeah.
He has 3 10s in there, so
I'm still 5.
yep. You find him very cool, very collected, very practiced. But you have no reason to believe that his words aren't genuine. Based on what he said so far, he is creating opportunity and wanting to extend that to some others.
Well, though, upon meeting this individual, I can certainly say It is an honor to end up near seeing your face once again. Though it's been quite some time.
About 4 or 5 years at this point now.
Hmm. True. True. You've done well for yourself, Kyle.
And you certainly seem to have done well for yourself, Mr. Doyle. And it's Calhoun.
So you say. Velda, allow me to formally introduce to you Kyle A. Calhoun.
It's my pleasure. I've heard quite a lot about you, Mr. Calhoun.
All good things, I hope. He kind of gives you an eyeball, Urien.
Combination of good and bad. Depending
Yes,
on
well.
which side you're standing.
Yes, well. I try to live by the standards I've been raised by.
You have done so admirably.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, Mr. Doyle, but you and I were never close.
You and Mr. Doyle were never close.
I
I'm
fail to see
trying
what you mean.
I remember when you were first brought to court.
That was long before you were.
I was doubtful of your applications, but truth is that your signer did end up saying that you were truly what would end up bringing Clan Ventru into the modern age. I remember distinctly that I ended up saying, what could one who is brought up from nothing understand the right to rule? He convinced me that in America, that everyone can rule themselves, that everyone can be practiced in the art, and that you were a paragon of such virtue that Clan Ventru holds most dear.
Forgive me, Mr. Doyle. However, you're only, what, 15 years embraced? I'm 82.
Still so young. Remember how I said the young are very quick to question and doubt? So tell me, well, when does this war end? Tell me, were you hoping to be prince by the end of this? Would it not go then to Galvin? No, I suspect not. He has never had it in him to be a ruler. He needs somebody to believe in. Perhaps you are looking for more local talent. One you can assist and craft something of value.
I am a creator of opportunity and hope to one day be a teacher.
This, I think, is where we truly cross paths. See, I am a bit of a teacher in this city as well, Mr. Calhoun.
A rival, then.
No. When teaching, there is no rivalry. Ours is simply fruits are born by our students. There's no rivalry in that which is taught. Take Velda here. Velda here would make a fine individual for a court. Brains, beauty, and a cunning wit that can sniff out traitorous one.
You would do very well, Miss Velda.
Thank you.
I suppose that's not why you're here.
No.
Pity.
So, the only comfort I have, and I would have to assume then, that you do not have full control over the faculties here. Camera would make it difficult, even if you were to murder us here. And the same falls true for us. It's almost a matter of safety. We can speak in seclusion so openly, and yet not fear the other.
Well, am not seeing why it is that you're here then.
He looks at Velda.
Mr. Calhoun, I have a question.
Yes.
You wouldn't be happening to work with any of those outside your city, would you?
You forget, Miss Velda, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is from outside my city. My city burned.
This is true.
So I'm a foreigner anywhere I go.
Do you know of a man named Hugh?
Yes. I have actually been in talks with your friend, I suppose, Miss Amber Dupree, in removing him. Because
Are you
that is
friend
within
to
my
him?
power.
That is within your power.
Yes. He's a
How
constituent of
so?
mine.
Ah. And that's what I was wondering.
You said openly and honestly. I am being honest with you.
The wonder of speaking with a Ventru, Velda, is that they have no reason to lie.
This is true.
But a Tremere has the tongue of a snake, as do Toreadors.
There's no use in lying. The more you lie, the more you have to cover it up.
Wise words.
That being said, the truth is not always so clear-cut.
No, I imagine not.
But you are indeed working with Hugh.
Urien's just listening, and he's almost beaming at this moment.
Well,
Working with, in that I assisted him in one fashion,
oh,
and he is assisting me in another. You're familiar
I
with the concept of
see.
boons?
Yes.
He is fulfilling a boon for me, nothing more.
Ah.
If he decides to make more of it, that is his choice.
So,
But he
what
can go back to
exactly
New
are
York after
you?
he is done here.
So, what exactly are you planning to do with San Antonio?
Hmm. I believe that's getting
Mr.
personal, Miss Velda.
Mr. Calhoun, might I make an attempted guess?
You may.
You watch the city burn, fall to anarch hands, and be utterly crushed. All of them whispering the same name, Tyler, Tyler. You turn to a bigger prize, one that is laxed. It has grown fat and docile, undisciplined. San Antonio is a city where the anarchs work against one another. It is already a fractured state. You see this and you think, this was taken. If I could take it, if a Calhoun can reign over a city, more grand, it might wash away the shame that one still stains you now. For it is your lineage that lost. I believe that right now you are enacting in the spirit of vengeance. But I suppose then you have to end up asking yourself, when I gain this city, I'm presuming you are most capable, what then?
Then this city will flourish.
And if I were to tell you, it will do so even without you.
Anarchs making a city flourish.
I know, I laughed at the idea when I first heard it as well. But
It
it is
is
possible.
absurd.
I would have agreed with you not too long ago, but I am starting to understand that I am becoming very comfortable in embracing absurdities.
I suppose I suspect nothing less.
And what are your suspicions? I mean, as of right now, your enemy is before you. More specifically, the individual who... This face was the last one that Marius saw.
Prince Calhoun saw.
He's starting to sound a little flustered. I think to myself, looking over him, I have no doubt. He speaks clearly. I have no doubt that your reverence for Prince Marius goes a long way. See, Velda here is under the belief that should you enter, should you pursue this goal of yours, it will end in, well, far more dead. And personally, I don't end up seeing a particular benefit to that. It seems that we would be taking each other to pieces. I'm sure you're pragmatic enough not to make the same mistakes of that of your enemy. So, how would we settle this contest then? And not have it drag on for decades, perhaps centuries, before the inevitable will happen, a masquerade breach because of escalation, and then we're all doomed. You said it yourself, you cannot rely on anarchs.
No. Too much chaos.
So what will you do?
Attempt to rein in that chaos.
Rein it in. Yes, I think that was the mistake.
Mistake.
Velda, you've gone so quiet. I'm starting to forget you're in the room.
I'm
You'll have to
simply
part.
listening. But it's interesting that you seek to rein in chaos. Controlled chaos. Or maybe not even chaos at all. Turning chaos into order, perhaps?
The
But
city
in which
lacks
case,
order.
does it?
3
It's interesting
barons.
because this city had quite a lot of order before you came here. So in attempting to control our chaos, you've managed to create chaos. How interesting. It's been more of a brisk of a breach since you've been here than there has been without you here.
What are you proposing, Miss Velda?
Don't you leave this city to its own devices.
You cannot.
But of course, I was about to say, but of course you can't do that.
No. As you are well aware, there are plenty who have already perished as a result of chaos. And if
Yes, I
order
have a
is not
personal...
brought to this city, it will fall.
Yes, I have a personal stake in those that have been lost.
My condolences.
I'm sure you and your crew had a little hand in that.
You're making a lot of accusations, Miss Velda, but you do not provide me with any proof.
Proof is in the pudding, as they say.
No, it clearly seems to me that you have no real interest in compromise.
I didn't say that.
Then please, propose something.
I did. I told you exactly what I want. But I still don't know exactly what you want. So, If I don't know what you want, how can we propose to meet halfway?
What I want, Miss Velda, is to bring honor back to the Calhoun name.
Honor in a name. What is honor? Truly.
What is honor truly, indeed? I doubt that you've been brought up to realize such things.
You would be surprised.
To a Ventru, a name is everything. You live and die by your name.
You live and die by others' opinions of your name. What a stifling way to live.
Changing the semantics does not make it untrue.
So how do you get your honor back, Mr. Calhoun? Does taking this city give you back your honor? It certainly doesn't fix the mistakes of the past. Jackson still burned. Do you intend to burn another city?
Jackson didn't burn because of Prince Marius Calhoun. Jackson burned because of anarchs.
Jackson burned because of a war.
Prince Calhoun was very accommodating to anarchs. He gave them shelter, he gave them education, he gave them everything, and yet they still turned their back on him.
That may be so. But I certainly wasn't a part of that.
No.
And how many of the people that have been caught up in this situation were a part of that? Truly. It's innocent lives that are paying for your vendetta.
You say innocent lives as if kindred can be innocent.
In terms of your problem, they're innocent.
Yes, well. I suppose an anarch would never understand.
Then make me. You know, I was born into anarchy, into the anarch movement. But there's nothing to say I can't be convinced otherwise.
Such a tease, isn't she, Mr. Calhoun?
Quite.
It's what I do best.
Yes. I am very aware.
Oh.
All Toreador are the same.
Perhaps. Could be said for the same for Ventru. We all have our little patterns that we fall into.
Yes. Quite true. The thing that I can promise this city is it will flourish. And those in this city who remain will flourish as well.
But how, Mr. Calhoun?
Proper leadership, guidance, education.
You're saying we didn't already have those things?
Education, certainly not.
And this would actually be great. I think, Velda, this may be the last we find Mr. Calhoun here. I have a sneaking suspicion that now that we are aware of you, you would probably move elsewhere in the city.
It would be foolish of me not to think of it.
True.
My own self-preservation, obviously.
Very much so. Though there was one thing I was surprised at. You did not demand my head.
Nothing would please me more.
I'm sure. It would be
However,
utterly
polite
bittersweet.
company.
If that is the case, Velda, would you be kind enough to step out of the room, out of earshot? It would seem that I would hate for Mr. Calhoun to end up feeling he needs to end up holding back on the account of propriety.
Of course, Mr. Doyle. I'll be only a shout away. And Velda would step out.
And she steps out of the room, down the hall, within shouting distance, but away from the room.
You always did have that same issue, Kyle. You were never good at listening.
Again, we are not close, Mr. Doyle. I don't expect that you would know things about me. I was simply my prince's progeny.
And quite the progeny you were. Tell me, Kyle, has anybody ever...
Mr. Calhoun, if you don't mind. We are not on a first name basis.
And if I were to tell you we are?
Then I would be flustered and frustrated at your impropriety.
The impropriety is what is making you listen. Go on, ask me what you think I should know. That would make it so personal. I was very keen to know about my progeny and theirs.
Your progeny. You're a neonate. You had not taken a child when you'd left Jackson.
I had taken several. I killed him. But you survived. That was good enough. I was quite impressed, Kyle. I was quite impressed. You were wrong about one thing, though.
Tell me how I am wrong.
I did not give the Anarchs everything. I abided a time. The mistake was in trying to end up making Jackson a clock. Fine-tuned machine. While we were taught to end up operating as such, those like Velda cannot. It is an antithesis to their very natures. And every kindred knows about what it is to fight against your nature. It will win, soon enough. Allow me to properly reintroduce myself to you. How much do you know about diablerie, Mr. Calhoun?
Enough to know that it is dangerous. That it
Not
is
enough to know on what it does to the soul.
rumor has it erodes at you. Clouds your mind. Can be overwhelmingly pleasant, but can lead to madness.
One might say. Perhaps it's true. Perhaps I have gone mad.
Do not think that I did not notice your accent.
Well, I'm pretty sure that you'd prefer me not end up speaking like this. Might end up bringing out the animal in you. It might end up causing you to end up deciding to end up snapping at me at a moment's notice, and I'm pretty sure the little lady back there wouldn't want to end up seeing that none. Besides, I do not like using my murderer's tongue.
Your murderer. I don't know what you're getting at.
I think you do. I think you know better than most.
What, that you're claiming to be Prince Marius Calhoun?
Sired by Videla Calhoun Corda.
Yes, I'm very familiar with my lineage.
Did you know that she always took a fancy to those under her? A certain degree of indiscretion is permitted if you maintain a certain level of decorum and ability. And yes, I do make such a claim.
Memories can be attained. Abilities from diablerie. And I have no doubt that you now possess Prince Marius Calhoun's memories. Perhaps you've even gone mad and changed your personality.
That would be fitting. It would be. But if that is the case, then know that this is spoken. Not with spite. Has it ever occurred to you, Kyle, that the reason I was here in the first place, when I first began this journey alone, was very much in the same position you were? Perhaps I have gone mad as I find myself siding with the anarchs. But we do what we must to maintain Despite all that has been said, I have maintained the traditions, but I am significantly your elder, if my claim is true.
I would suppose that would depend on whether or not your claim is provable. Memories,
True.
after all, traded through diablerie, cannot be proof.
So what do we do in this conundrum? If I am simply a vessel of memories, and a Tremere gone mad, then what you are destroying is the last remnants of Prince Marius Calhoun. If I am correct, and by some miracle, Prince Marius Calhoun exists in this form right in front of you, then you would be responsible for destroying your own lineage.
My lineage was destroyed by anarchs,
It was.
and I intend to rebuild it.
We both do.
The Calhoun name does not deserve to be dragged through the mud.
It must be preserved and maintained with the dignitas of which it has been built upon. We are servants to our own kind. Now I serve a different way.
And I serve the same one I did before.
Well then, Mr. Calhoun, I have spoken my piece. If I must face you again in a form of conflict, I will end up endeavoring to honor what it is that I put down. But the truth is, I'd rather to see you live another 1,000 years. Don't let our lineage die in you.
I have no intention of doing so.
This is not the intent. If I were to turn my back on you right now, which would be a foolish endeavor, would I be able to trust that your fangs find into my own throat as a poetic point of justice?
No.
Good.
I would much rather your head be placed on a platter before me in Elysium.
Velda!
Velda?
I guess you're gonna be right back, moment.
She didn't post one.
She comes back in. Sorry, I thought I had my mic down.
Ah.
She comes back in. Yes?
If there is anything you care to end up asking Mr. Calhoun at this point, might I suggest you do so? I
Yes.
doubt we will be meeting anytime soon.
one last thing.
Yes, Miss Velda.
Do you know the name Tony Hendrickson? Henriksen.
Cannot say that I'm familiar with the Anarch people in this city. To the best of my
No.
knowledge, he isn't very prominent.
No. But he was one of your own clan. A Ventru.
To assume a Ventru knows all Ventru is rather rude.
Well, it just so happened that he's just up and vanished. Not long after your group entered into the city. I was charged with finding what happened to him.
I fear that the Ventru that I have encountered in San Antonio are of indistinguished lines. At best, forgettable. Only a handful prove the exception, so I have no doubt you do not know them because you do not know where their line has fallen off.
I was just wondering if you'd known their whereabouts, that's all.
I do not.
Perhaps one of your constituents.
If there's someone you would like to speak to, I can certainly set up a place for all of us to meet.
Mr. Calhoun.
Mr. Doyle.
There is a club in my little portion of the domain. It's called Club Lush. It has a wonderful neon sign, and it does this fascinating thing. It changes colors. It's fascinating how we can change the color of flame.
Chemistry.
If you... Yes. However, I was going to say, if at any point the lights go a purple and green, know that that means you are welcome to end up attending. That one of us would wish to speak with you. And on pain of death, I will not allow anyone to harm a guest in my domain. It's either we speak or we end up killing each other outright.
How
On a
generous.
pragmat. I was. Because I believe that you do in fact have something to offer this city. Just not in the way you see it.
We shall see.
Then let the games begin. He gives he goes a step forward to Kyle and extends a hand.
And Kyle takes it. Gives you a firm handshake. Possibly firmer than when you last recognized him.
I smile warmly. Genuinely, I'm sure. Well, I wish you the best of luck in surviving your endeavors, Mr. Calhoun. And I do hope that when you survive all this mess, you will remember this conversation. And no doubt, if you have your way, I only hope that you have a very pretty place to end up mounting my head in Elysium.
good luck to you as well, Mr. Doyle.
He takes a step back, allowing Velda to say her goodbyes.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Calhoun. And Velda would offer her own hand.
And he takes it and shakes it, and it's firm.
Yep. Hers is firm, but also fairly gentle. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
And you as well. And do remind Miss Dupree that I am working to make sure that Hugh does not bother her ever again. And should I do so, she would have to collect on a favor.
I see.
We did agree, after all.
Very well. I shall be sure to remind her.
Fantastic.
With that, Urien opens the door for Velda.
And Velda would step out.
And look at Kyle. Like I'm trying to sear his face. Has not aged a day. For some reason, I sometimes think of him as Cain. So much he has grown.
83 years old.
Hardly looks a day over 30. Closing the door behind. And start to walk with Velda. Wait.
We're back at the cup. It's Calhoun.
Yes. The former Prince of Jackson.
Were you close with him?
Depending on the stories, you could say I was closer to him than any.
Well,
Urien Doyle ate him.
Urien Doyle did eat him. It's interesting, the way you spoke to him in that.
Why is that?
Well, it just seemed to be rather personal.
It is. I look at him and I see a reminder of better times. He looks to me and sees a individual who must be exterminated at all costs.
A reminder of better times.
Yes.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Doyle?
Perhaps he reminds me of when I was old.
When you were old, you were really not making much sense.
Perhaps I am simply a Malkavian who's been fooling you this entire time.
I hope not. I've had enough of Malkavians for now.
I've always found them quite delightful myself.
Well, that's why I said for now. After having a run-in with Hugh and having to work around him. But at least now we know what Mr. Calhoun looks like and where he has been. I hate to say it, but Amber was right.
That would imply one of two things, neither one I particularly like. Either Amber is sharper than she gives herself credit and hides that at all times. Possible. Or you wanted us to find him. You wanted.
Oh.
Because then decisions become muddled. Tell me,
Ah,
Zelda, what do you even know how to start to fight this war?
frankly, no idea. I've simply been playing catch up this entire time, Mr. Doyle.
That's how they win.
Yes.
It's about that moment, Velda, that you're getting a call on your phone from Amber.
And she would answer it immediately.
John's a fucking traitor. And that's where we're
What?
gonna end this vignette.